I told my wife, no, I'm not going on family holiday with your family. Original post. I always put my wife and her family first. I moved to my wife's hometown because she wanted to be closer to hers. Now her family and mine are total opposites. I'm an only child. She's the eldest of 3. My extended family is 4 people, including me. Hers is 30 plus. My family are introverted and don't drink. Hers are super extroverts and booze whenever they can. My parents are disabled. Hers are healthy. Honestly, my family are boring and hers are fun. And I've gotten used to it, and it's horrible to say. But because of being around them so much, I prefer hanging out with her family than I do my own. I always do what she wants. I'm a pushover, but happy wife, happy life, right? Even if it's something I don't want to do, I do it to make her happy. First dance at our wedding, terrified, and I didn't want to do one. I don't like being the center of attention. She cried, and I caved in. Christmas? Her family is large, so have a big fun party on Christmas Day, and mine's small and boring, so she doesn't want to be there. Where to live? She wanted to be close to her family, so now mine's a 3-hour drive away, and I hardly see them, except for birthdays. Well, this year, it's her grandma's 70th, her mom's 50th, and my 30th birthday, so her family have planned a huge family holiday of 25 plus people to be away for 3 weeks to celebrate everyone's birthdays. The catch is, it's not on anyone's birthday, except mine. We'd fly home 1 day after my birthday. Obviously, my parents want to see me on my 30th, and have said they're upset because, as usual, I'm pandering to her family as always, and they're being left out again. I want to spend time with my family, especially as I only really see them on birthdays. I'm used to their boringness, but to do that, apparently, I'm ruining her family trip. But if I go on the trip, I'm putting my family second again and further damaging that relationship. My parents are older and disabled, and my gran has early onset dementia, so they don't have much time in comparison to hers. We can't get a shorter holiday. We can't go at another time of the year because of work and school commitments. So I told her no. For the first time ever, I told her, no, I'm not going. You can, but I'm staying here. I'm an adult. I want to spend my birthday with my family. To which she replied, I am your family, then stormed off, and she's not taking it too well. She's acting like a spoilt child, crying, screaming, calling her mom to say she can't go now because I'm not going, so now her family think I'm a massive dick, and none of them can see that I have another side to my family. She's packed a bag since I started writing this, and she says she's going to stay at her mom's until I can make up my mind what's more important, my family or hers. I have no idea what to do. I just needed to vent. Now for the updates. Wow, I only wanted a place to vent, didn't expect such a response. Just to clear a few things up. I love my wife, and I'm not going to divorce her over this. She does so much for me and is normally a kind and loving person. We've been together 6 years, married 18 months. We don't have kids but are trying. We live in the UK, and the reason why we can't go at any other time is because of the UK laws on taking children out of school during term time for holidays. So it's been planned during the autumn break so the parents don't get fined. I woke up this morning to the following text from her mum. Do you know how disappointed I am in you right now? It's not even that you're not coming away for my birthday. It's the fact that you're not supporting my daughter. You know how important family is to her. End of. You know how much she wants to come, and you telling her to go on her own is not being supportive. You've put a full stop to it all. I don't get what your issue is. It's one thing then another, and she can't do right for wrong in trying. It's supposed to be a lovely family holiday for my 50th. It's made me even more determined to stand my ground. I think I'm going to take the advice of you Art Needs More Floof and send her mum my reasoning. They seem to forget I have parents too. I just don't want to be hated. This holiday is 8 months away, and I don't want 8 months of hate, especially when we live in such close proximity. Final update. Last night, my wife and I went out for dinner. My idea so we could speak, and I hoped being in a public place would make her less likely to scream, cry, etc. I told her all the advice that I had read on here and showed her the text I received from her mum. She listened to everything I had to say, and I could see her physically cringe when she read the text. She apologized for the way she had acted and said she hadn't even considered it from my POV. I told her what one Redditor had said. Sorry, so many comments I can't remember a name. If we're doing this for 30, 50, 70, what's going to happen at 40, 60, 80, or 50, 70, 90? Are we going to have this spoilt child situation when she's nearly 40? Or are we going to leave it behind now in her 20s? She told me her family had all got together to book the trip the night she left, and she felt shitty because I said we weren't going, so now no one had booked until I'd finished throwing my toys out the pram. I told her I didn't say we can't go. I said I wasn't going, but she could. I ignored the toys pram comment as that pissed me off. I reminded her that her mum's actual birthday was 2 weeks before we fly, and her nan's birthday is in 2 weeks from now. She'll get to spend time with them, have a party, etc. on the actual day, and that's something I want for myself too. I don't want to be away from my family in a different country with 25 plus people. I don't know that well on my 30th. I want to do something with my family over my birthday before it's too late. My mum's health is rapidly deteriorating, and she can't do much as it is, and who knows how long my gran has before this dementia really sets in. My mum's always talked about doing a Baltic cruise / see the Northern Lights for my gran's 80th, but that's still 2 years away, and I honestly don't think in 2 years either of them will be in any fit state, so I suggested we do it for my 30th instead. My wife seemed keen and pulled up some dates. There's one that leaves 3 days before my birthday and comes back 3 days after. Perfect timing. We called my mum to ask, and she sounded delighted. She herself hadn't even considered how my gran would be at 80 and thought it would be a lovely trip to make memories on. We then went to her mum's house. No apology or anything from her, but you can't win everything. To tell her together, we weren't going for the 3 weeks. But my wife had found, a 1-week booking that coincided with their 3-week trip in a hotel that was just down the beach. Same chain resort, just a different building. Enough distance to have our own break, but still include the family for evening meals, etc. No one had even suggested looking at shortened dates, and I hadn't even considered it until I read so many comments saying, just come back sooner. All in all, I'm going to take this as a win. I don't jibber think my bank balance will, though. Jibber seen me put my foot down and mean it. I'm not going to let have her way all the time at my own jibber. I've not caved for an easier life, and together we found a jibber solution. My family haven't been excluded and are so excited. My mum's like a kid at Christmas, and hers are, well, happy they can book now, and at least the asshole Sil is only there for a week. Hopefully, as it's not for 8 months, they might jabber. Screw the happy wife, happy life jabber. I've never heard happy spouse, happy house before, but I think I'll be using that jabber from now on. Like you all said, jibber a two-way street. Give and take. Compromise. Thanks to everyone for the advice and support. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for wanting to go nuclear after my sister-in-law kicked out her teenage sons? Original post. Hey everyone. My husband, 34, and I are in a tough situation with my sister-in-law, Barbara, 41, and we need an outside perspective on whether we're overreacting or if our stance is justified. We're leaning toward the latter, but are open to thoughts. Thanks in advance. Barbara has 4 boys, L17, O14, R13, and C7. Despite her having a rough history with bad relationships, her kids have always been well-behaved. The only constant man in her life has been Reese, 48, her on and off husband who does nothing for her or the kids except work. He blows his money gambling, cheats on her openly, and relies on her for everything else. For 7 years, she's come to us, venting about him, swearing it's the last time, then caught, but always goes back. In 2020, after yet another huge fight, the entire family intervened. We sat her down, told her we were here to help with anything she needed. Lawyers, a safe place for her and the kids, even handling the legal stuff if necessary. She agreed to kick him out, but within 6 months, he was back because he couldn't find a place to stay. This grown man, who has worked a steady job for 20 years, somehow needed help. Since then, things have gotten progressively worse. Barbara decided to stick with marriage counseling, even though the whole family urged her to leave. She's clung to the idea of honoring her marriage, despite the toxic environment. As a result, her kids have started to suffer. The eldest, Elle, started skipping school and smoking heavily. A few months ago, my husband got a 2 a.m. call from Elle, who said he was suicidal and afraid to act on it. When we got to their house, we learned he had told his stepdad the same thing, and Reese told him to just do it because no one would care. My husband, understandably, punched him in the face. We took Elle to the hospital, and after his release, brought him home with us for 3 weeks to help him recover. Eventually, Elle returned to his mom's house, thinking things had smoothed over, but they quickly fell apart again. Soon enough, the second oldest, O, began having issues too. For months, they'd been fighting constantly, and we didn't realize how bad it had gotten until we couldn't get in touch with either of them. Barbara had gone silent. My husband showed up at her house unannounced, something our family often does for fun, only to find out that she had washed her hands of Elle and O for being disrespectful and kicked them out. She had even turned off their phones and didn't know where they were staying. We found out, the following, they'd been crashing with friends for weeks, trying to stay under the radar because they were embarrassed. We picked them up from school and brought them home with us again. They told us that their mom and stepdad had been bullying them, constantly fighting, and that they didn't feel safe going back. Barbara admitted that she put them out, but insisted things weren't as bad as they made it sound. Now my husband and I want to go full nuclear, report this to CPS, the police, and anyone who can intervene. But the rest of the family wants to handle it internally. We feel like 2 minors were abandoned, and that deserves an extreme response. But the family is now saying we're overreacting, and at the end of the day, these are not our children. So, are we the assholes for wanting to report this situation and not leave it to family discussions? The 2 oldest boys are with us for now, but we're ready to escalate this. Now for the update. It's been nearly 2 weeks since I made my original post, and it's been a wild ride. I have to be incredibly vague because of the newly opened case, but here's the most important thing. All of our nephews are safe with us. The boys have always had a place here and have visited often since they were tiny, long before any of this chaos started. So while the transition has been emotionally jarring for them, the move itself was thankfully smooth. Now, as for Barbara and Reese, they're facing charges regarding their treatment of the boys. It was worse than we originally thought. Barbara seems remorseful, but my husband is still livid. He believes she's only feeling sorry now that everything's out in the open and consequences are on the table. Whether her remorse is genuine or not, I'm just relieved we took action when we did, because it's terrifying to think how much worse things could have gotten if we hadn't. Family-wise, everything is a mess. The entire family is split over this, and it's not even worth the text to go over the thoughts of those who oppose us. Those who have sided with us, however, have been a tremendous help. Even though there are a lot of family issues and the logistics are complicated, we made the right decision. What I can share in more detail is that soon after I posted, Reese showed up at our house, demanding that the boys return home with him. They refused. I told him to leave, but he escalated things, got loud, aggressive, and started cursing at me and the boys. My husband wasn't home at the time. He was out picking up clothes and toiletries for Elle and O. I can only assume Reese felt emboldened by my husband's absence, because out of nowhere, he sucker punched me right in the mouth. And read it, I'm not ashamed to admit. I saw red. I swung back. It wasn't smart, but I did. He wasn't expecting that. I'm nice and really easygoing, but I guess I forgot that. I jumped on him, and let's just say he didn't expect a fight. I might not have landed the best hits, but he wasn't prepared for one at all. He scrambled out of there and sped off. I immediately called 911 while the boys called my husband, who thankfully was just around the corner. I'm fine. Just ended up with a busted lip that looked worse than it was, though my husband insisted I go to urgent care. The police met us there, and that's when we reported everything, Reese's assault and the whole situation with the boys. Reese and Barbara were picked up the next day. And in the middle of all this shit, I found out I'm pregnant. Yup. While I was at urgent care, they ran a routine test and boom, positive. I had no idea. No symptoms or anything, but it's still super early. All things aside, thank you for all of the comments, advice, and ideas. Your support made a difference, and my nephews are safe.